throw in a little variation once in a while to freshen it up. And he was an amazing artist. He was just an amazing showman and musician and arranger and everything. He's just an amazing guy. And had some, did his prison term or jail term or something. He got out of there and just got him a guitar, and he was just on fire. Traveled all over the world, and one of the renowned blues players. And if you listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan's material, especially that song "Pride and Joy," he's got 3 or 4 lightning's basic licks in there, just electrified and supercharged. But it's the same.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the same, basically the same theme and the same lick.
And Lightning probably was doing all this writing and composing the whole time he was in prison.
Yeah, I'd say so. It probably hardened him and got some rough edges cut off, and
some of that Johnny Cash stuff, Folsom Prison.
His would have probably been something more like penitentiary blues or prison cell blues or something along that line. But he was a great American original, I tell you what.
And we're talking what years? You remember?
He probably hit his peak from the 50s. Now, as a little boy, he got to meet Blind Lemon Jefferson, which was in the 20s and 30s. And he got to know Blind Lemon Jefferson as a child. He walked up to him and talked to him. And I think he actually got to play guitar with him one time. But, that probably was a great influence on him as well.
Oh, of course. Wow.
But,
you're a walking encyclopedia, man. You're throwing out names I don't know anything about, but I'm not a musician, so.
Well, Blind Lemon Jefferson, he had a lot of great songs, but he was most noted for the Black Snake Moan. I think that was probably one of his biggest hits. And he had a great spiritual song too. He had a great Easter Christian song that he sang too. Blind Lemon did. I can't recall the name of it exactly, but. He arose. He sang that little song.
Oh, really?
He rose up from the grave. He arose. And he said to his disciples, "Meet me in Galilee." And I took that to a nursing home and sang it, and there was a black preacher that jumped right on that and joined right in with me.
Is that right? Where was that? You remember what nursing home?
That was at Saluda.
How about that?
Reverend Nathaniel Clayton jumped right in there and sang it with me.
That's amazing.
That was awesome. That was really awesome.
Don't you wish you'd had that on tape?
Oh wow! Well, he played harmonica with me when I was in his key. He'd play a harmonica in the background. I could hear him back there just wailing away on that harmonica, and he loved to play and sing along.
Patrick, when did you learn to play, and how did you learn to play?
My dad bought an old guitar from Uncle Paul King for $20, and it was a Supro classical guitar. It had the neck broken off. Somebody glued the neck back on, and they put a giant wood screw through the heel of the neck, and it just totally ruined that guitar. But the thing had steel strings, and it was supposed to have a nylon string. And so my dad bought that guitar from Uncle Paul King for like $20. I think he'd picked it up at a flea market. And we put the nylon strings back on it. That was what I learned to play Wildwood Flower, Folsom Prison Blues, and a song by the Statler Brothers too, Elizabeth by the Statler Brothers.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I learned to play those 3 songs on that old hard to play guitar. The strings were so high, I think they were like that high, and it really hurt my fingers.
Yeah.
It was worth the effort, and then later I retuned it to open tuning. The strings were so high it made a perfect dobro, so I just played slide guitar. I was just wailing on Robert Johnson and Fred McDowell and Sun House and some of those old blues tunes because it was ideal for slide. And I looked into getting it restored one time, but the guy said it was so bad off it couldn't be fixed.
Yeah. And how old were you when your dad got that guitar for you?
I started playing when I was 14 years old.
14.
And I taught myself to play out of Mel Bay chord books and Mel Bay pocket. You get little pocket books for 75 cents, little tiny song books for 75 cents, and they had books for guitar, mandolin, harmonica, piano, and I got a bunch of those little pocket books and taught myself to play.
Now, did you learn music though? Did you learn to read music in high school? Or?
I learned to read a little bit of music, but not enough really to play from. But it helped me out in church work and church music because I could read the key signatures in the song books, and I knew what the sharps and the flats. I knew what key they were in, so I could estimate you know, what chords was going to fit with what song. And
Right, right.
it was really a challenge, but that knowing the key signatures and the time signatures really helped.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But I had one really great guitar teacher, Rick Prater, and I took lessons from him for about a month. But I'd already been playing for 4 years, and after that, I proceeded to teach myself again because Rick was really into jazz fusion, and you know, some of that's really pretty music. Let's see here.
Oh, yeah.
He was teaching me some of his tunes. It was like really the sixth and the ninth and some of the really harder chords to play. And
it's a nice sound.
but I never was really into the jazz fusion, and he didn't teach me the songs I was wanting to learn, which incidentally I was wanting to learn to play Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers.
Get out.
And we never got around to it, and he taught me so much. He was such a great teacher. He taught me so much in 1 month of lessons. It took me 3 years to figure all that out and apply it. But once I got all that down, man, it was like amazing. I could play anything I wanted to. And he taught me some really good professional proper technique, how to hold the way he held the pick, and alternate picking for some of the faster tunes and some of the faster songs I was wanting to play. And he was of tremendous help to me even for a month. But I proceeded back to teaching myself though and figured the rest of it out. And I played along. I had a huge album collection, probably about $7,000 worth of record albums I bought when I was a kid. And mowing grass, I'd use all my grass mowing money to buy albums every weekend. And I taught myself all this music. And then once I got out of high school, I started applying what I've learned.
Well, you just answered my next question. You know, obviously, people that are really talented and gifted with music, they've had music around them all their lives, you know. And I mean, Marcus, I mean, it was just a generational thing, and always music, a huge collection of records and so forth. So, I mean, was your father musically inclined? Did he play?
He knew two or three chords on the guitar, and he knew just enough to get me going. He had a guitar. He borrowed someone's guitar. He had an Indian buddy named Dial when he was in the Navy in the Pacific, in the World War II. He's in the Pacific area of the Navy, and spent a lot of time in Pearl Harbor. And Dial his Indian friend had a guitar, and he would borrow Dial's, and Dad got his own guitar, but he knew just enough chords to play around on and pick around on. He knew just enough to tune the guitar and get me started, and I was on my way. And once in a while he'd pick up my guitar and he played something. He had something he did with this little chord. He goes, and that was all Dad knew. And of course the G chord, like the old-timey country G chord like Maybelle Carter played with two fingers, like, and that was his extent of his guitar playing.
But look what that did. I mean, it was your inspiration.
It was.
Now your dad, what was your dad's name?
Frelo.
Frelo, okay, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of unusual Appalachian names on
Sure.
both sides of our family. We had Carl and Paul, which I guess are still pretty common on the King side, but then on my dad's side we had Frelo, Wilkie, Clyde, Roy, Eddie, Albert.
Well, I mean, of course, I don't know. Did you ever know my dad? Did you ever meet my dad? His name was Euless.
I don't think I did, no, sir.
Yeah, that's, of course, Lewis's brother. And Morris's brother, which was, of course, Marcus's great-grandfather. But, you know, Dad was named for Euless Ballard,
Mm-hmm.
who was a caretaker over at Connemara. That's back when Captain Smites owned it, that sold it to Carl Sandburg.
Yeah, that was some amazing stories.
Oh, it just goes on and on. It's amazing. His wife, Aunt Emily, was Dad's aunt. Dad's mother and Emily were sisters.
I don't know which uncle it was. It might have been the Uncle Euless that got bit with a snake over there one time. And Dad said it was either Uncle Euless or Uncle Eli that got bit with a copperhead up there.
Over at Connemara?
Yeah, and he was talking about.
I'll tell you who could tell you all about that would be Jerry King,
Yeah,
Vicky's brother.
Yeah, someone was going up there and they found that snake and killed it after the fact. But,
Right.
I knew that happened, and that was probably one of the worst things that happened over there. But a lot of really comical stuff.
Oh my gracious!
Miss Sandberg sent, or it might have been Captain Smythe sent a little black girl up there to find Uncle Euless, and Dad related this story. And he couldn't read, so he said, I can't make out what does it say, and she was wanting to send him to town to buy something. And the little black girl points to the paper and says, well, she wants some saltpeter. I said, Dad the salt and Dad the peter. I said,